Okay, my favorite part of the whole course. So, rational, emotional, environment. This comes from a happiness hypothesis by Jonathan Haidt. Dan and Chip Heath used it in their book Switch. This is a model for how we think about how people make decisions. Now, we talk to the rational rider. That's the little guy sitting on top of the big elephant. We think that he's in control. This is our executive function in neurological terms. It's the part of our brain that makes quote-unquote rational decisions. Now, you may remember that we said just a moment ago that we don't make rational decisions, that we make intuitive decisions or emotional decisions. So the little rider here is sitting on top of an elephant, and he's the emotional powerhouse. He's the guy that gets stuff done. And the elephant is walking down a path. And that path is really the elephant's habits and the environment. What's the default answer? What's the expected, the culturally expected outcome? So we continue, when we're trying to do these change efforts, we continue to talk to the rider. It's like, oh, hey, Mr. Rider, this is going to be better, and it's, saves $3.7 million over blah, blah, blah. The thing is the rider actually only has the illusion of control. He only has the illusion of control. If he gets tired or lazy or whatever, or if the elephant really gets an important idea, the rider's not in control. The elephant really makes the decisions. Now, the elephant, having no strong will of his own, is likely to go down the path. Whatever the environment is, whatever the cultural norm is, that's where the elephant's likely to go. So if you want to make a change in the information architecture, take and change the default answers. So add new metadata, change the way the navigation is. You will shift people into that thinking. Of course, you've got to do it a little bit progressively so that you don't too quickly make an adjustment and the elephant revolts. So back to Gary Klein for just a second. And it's really, again, about this idea that once you know something, once you've built a really good mental model, you tend to simulate into that model. You tend to operate from this idea that the model's going to tell you an answer. Novices, when they evaluate something, they use all the criteria, and there's checkboxes, and there's Excel spreadsheets, and they're cross-linked. And the reality is those decisions, according to Klein's research, don't end up being as good because there's no expertise behind it. All right, types of decisions. There are two kinds of people that make decisions. The first one is a satisficer, and the idea is that it's good enough. So once I reach the point where it's good enough, I take a thing and I'm done. The other side is a maximizer. It's got to be the best choice. And in fact, if they find something 2 days later that's a little better, they're really going to be depressed. A satisficer is somebody who's just saying, just good enough. I'm just going to serially evaluate whatever happens to come up. And if there's a better thing that comes up later, not a big deal. Those people are not going to get depressed if next week there's a sale on something or they find a better fit, right? Those two different kinds of ways of approaching decision making. The important bit here is that maximizers, we all have a little bit of each, but maximizers, the more maximizer we are, the more we have to have the perfect, the less happy we're going to be. So there's two problems when you're making any kind of a decision. And by the way, we're still talking about information architecture here. We're talking about how do you make decisions about how to break the information architecture down. The first is a zone of indifference where, you know what, A, B, doesn't really matter. A lot of times this will catch groups up because they'll argue about, do I do A or do I do B or do I do C, when it really doesn't matter. You just need to pick one and move on. The other decision problem that you can run across is time constraints. Remember those fire captains who are making decisions about fire? You can't wait until you know more. You've got to make the best decision you can make for now and know that in the future, if it's wrong, I'm just going to have to adjust it.